Hi, Earthlings. So tonight, I'm working like this because I need to show you some pictures and they need to be the right way around, not mirrored. So here we go. This is the story of Melchizedek or Melchizedek. Let us begin. So Melchizedek was from a Jebusite or Jebusite, and he worshipped the god El-Elyon. Yes, he did. I'm not making that up. El-Elyon. Now, the Jebusite was the pre-Israelite area of Salem, Jerusalem. The name Zedek or Zadok is from the clan or tribe of Jeru. Okay. Now Zadok was a righteous man and his wife was Misor. Misor meaning well freed, freed well. It is written in Phoenician texts that those two were the first to discover the use of salt. The texts are written before the Trojan War happened by a man named Sakun-Yatan, who wrote the truest history for his king, Abibaal of Beirut. The writings were poo-pooed at first, until the cuneiform tablets were discovered in 1966 in Ugarit, Syria, by archaeologists at Ras Shamra, digging since 1929. They're still digging today, so that's actually nearly coming up to 100 years. It's a book of giants and their descendants and war. Now, Zadok and Misor used salt for brining, pickling, and preserving foods. Zadok began to use salt ceremoniously to seal an agreement. Melchizedek made a covenant of salt with Abraham, who continued this action and passed it down to his offspring. Now, there's some things that's going to be a little bit hard today. Okay, Melek means angel in Turkish and in Arabian, and it means to rule over in Hebrew. So Melch, I say it with the ek because we're thinking of the X, because the word chi is symbolized by an X. And remember the place that formerly was Twitter, run by Elon. Now, Yerushalem. Yeru means to flow, the movement of flowing, and Shalem means completely, holy. So the movement of flowing, holy. Not holy, but completely. So as things have gone through in history, some little tweaks have been made by the narrative. And this is why I'm speaking to you about Melchizedek, because people don't even say his name correctly, and because the narrative has taken on this fable of its own and it's distorted from actual history. Let us continue. In Akkadian, Uru Salem was the place of the god Salem, a Canaan god of the setting sun, health, and the netherworld. So remembering the netherworld is ether and the realm of the spirit. Ursuru means he will see to it. Okay, Zadok the priest. So there's a hymn called Zadok the priest. Now, after the big war takeover, this is back in when the Israelites did their big war takeover. And then after Saul came into power, then after David came into power and he died, there was a lot of murder to get Solomon on the throne. And he got anointed by a priest of Zadok. In the Bible, it's shortened to priest Zadok. Now, the Anglos got a hold of the words of the anointing, and in the year 973 AD, they used it and the salt to coronate Edgar at Bath Abbey. So there was a king in 973 called Edgar, and he was an Anglos king, Anglos becoming English. Now the words are Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, anointed Solomon king, and all the people rejoiced and said, Long live the king. God save the king. May the king live forever and ever. So interestingly, it's quite mysterious that Solomon died of natural causes aged 55. And also that was the division. So when Solomon died, 10 of the tribes of Israel, known as Israel, then to become known as Samaria, left, 11 actually, and then 2 stayed in Jerusalem, which was the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. So 2 tribes stayed in Jerusalem, the tribe of Judah, and that is how the Jews became a religious faction. Right, so let us go back to what I've got here. So if you remember, Zadok the priest was a hymn that was sung at the coronation of King Charles III. Now, it was also sung at Prince Frederick's wedding to Mary Donaldson. That was quite a long time ago. And he has recently just become the King of Denmark, and he is Frederick the 10th, which is symbolized by the X. Moving along, Abraham. Now, as you may know, Abraham was from Ur. Now, this Ur was a combination of the Iranians and the Indians. So that is the Aryans and the Indians. And the Indians came from the Indus Valley in India. And they had this sea trade. It was going up the Persian Gulf. And Abraham was a Brahman. All right, so he was like an Indian Brahmin coming up the coast. So he was actually, I beg your pardon, I'm not saying that. He lived in Ur. Now, I'm going to show you. Hopefully it comes out great. Now, this is our map. So I'll bring the phone down. And what we're looking at here is, that's the Red Sea. And this is the Persian Gulf. Okay, so this is Africa. This is Saudi Arabia. And then, excuse me, sorry. And then I'm just going to enlarge it for you. And of course, this comes down into India. So what I have here to show you all in this modern time is the Persian Gulf. Now, what we've got there, if it just goes clear for me, I hope it does. So this is Afghanistan, and this is Iran, and the sea you're looking at is the Persian Gulf coming up. And if I can just get it and go like this. So what we've got here, what is now called Kuwait, that was where was, okay? See the Persian Gulf? Now, let's see where I've got it. So the king of the south is going to be, it's written in the Bible, for those who know, it's going to be this guy from Oman. What is going on? Just try to do that. Ooh, that's great. Okay, so the king of the south is going to come from there, guys. Now, moving over, so I just showed you Kuwait is where was, and that's on Saudi Arabia is there. We've got Iran, we've got Iraq, which has Baghdad, we've got Syria, and we've got, see where Damascus is, and interesting how Israel goes right across that peninsula there, LOL. So a bit of a joke there. Why is it not focusing for me? I've done something wrong again. Why is it going out of focus? Can't understand it. I think it's just trying to annoy me. So then we've got Egypt and over there. Now, let me tell you a story. Now I'm just reducing it so that you get a little bit of the bigger picture. Bring it over to here. Now Abraham, get this back into focus if I can possibly. Maybe like that. Ooh, cool. Abraham was from which is now Kuwait. And it was a combined city of the Iranians and the Indians from the Indus Valley. Hey, it keeps going out of focus. I'm going to try again. They had a sea trade. It came up the Persian Sea, and as I showed you, that we have the Persian Gulf. Maybe I shouldn't manually do this. I'm trying to get it into focus. There we go. Persian Gulf, guys. Now, back in the day, the king of Shinar, which is Babylonia. Oh, excuse me, my camera shut down. Babylonia, which of course we know is over here in Babylonia is Iraq. So the king of Shinar, which is Iraq, the king of Al-Lasa, which is halfway between and Erech. Erech was an old land as well, and that is between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers. Now, sadly, they're not marked on this map. I'm so sorry about it, but they both come down through this area. So they're on either side of this and this, okay? Which is the border of Iraq and Iran. There's two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, and they both come out the mouth of the Persian Gulf. So the king of Lhasa was halfway between and Erech on the left bank of the Euphrates. So he was on the left bank over here. And, oh, sorry, I did that wrong. So sorry. Where's my finger? Left bank of the Euphrates, which is on this side. And the king of Elam, which is Iran, and the king of Goyim, which was the Kurdish, who live halfway between Elam and Iran. So the Kurdish people who live in between the two rivers, the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, were called Goyim. Okay, the king of Goyim went to war with the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, who had rebelled. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is the people who lived in primarily this area of Iran, include Afghanistan, and around this area were taking over. The people of the Indus Valley, the oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The Aryans, the Indos were taking over the Aryans, right? Gotcha. Now, I'm just going to move on to where were they? Oh, excuse me, that's a photo I took. Here we go. Of a drawing I'm doing. Now, where they were battling was in this small region called the Dead Sea. So hopefully I can show you, let's just go for that, what we have here. There is Zoar, and Sodom was over here on this lower part. Gomorrah was around here on this part. Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah is down here around this area. Okay, so the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and Zeboim, and Zeboim was also down in this area. Is it on there? Because, guys, if you can read that, City of Salt, okay, the top of the Dead Sea. Now, what do you find just over here from the City of Salt? Where on earth? I found it before and now I can't find it. So many names. Where did it go? I just saw Oprah, which I thought was weird. Oh my gosh. I found it. There we are. Jerusalem. And then I move across. And then Bethany. Remember Bethany? And it's just about a direct line to the City of Salt. You cannot make this stuff up. It's right here in the Bible, and you can see Jericho up there. Now, so they drew battle lines in the Valley of Siddim. The Valley of Siddim is this lower part down the bottom here. Down the bottom, okay, of Zoar. They drew up battle lines in the Valley of Siddim. The four kings won. That's the big kings that came over from Iran and Babylonia and the Euphrates, the Kurdish and stuff. Okay, so they won. And they took all their stuff. And took all their goods and food. And they also took Lot, Abraham's nephew. Now someone who escaped went and told Abraham, and he rounded up his 318 trained soldiers. Oh goodness, I'm so sorry, I'm doing this incorrect. Oops, I'm doing it incorrect again. And go up here. Hope it's on the list. And I can find it. This is like one of the most difficult things I've been trying to do. Oh my God, they went to Damascus, okay? So I'll just get back to Jerusalem. There's Jerusalem. So let me get you there, Jerusalem. Doesn't look like I've got Damascus on this map. Probably haven't. Because it's on this map. Right, so there we are. So Damascus is up in Lebanon. Phew. So they're fighting in the Dead Sea area, which is a tiny little spot down here. And all these big boys are all battled. They've all come down to this little point where the city of Salt is, which let's just call it Jerusalem at this point, because obviously the salt was getting sold out from there. Now anyway, so the big guys, the big kings, they were off up to heading towards Syria, obviously. They were at Damascus. And Abraham rounded up his 318 trained soldiers, and they boosted after these guys, after these Indo-Aryans. Remembering as well that Abraham, I'm so sorry about the map, that Abraham himself is a half-breed. He's half Indo and he's half Aryan, all right? Okay, so Abraham, he rounds up his 318 trained soldiers. They boost it after the Aryans. They catch up with them at Damascus, and he was able to get Lot and the woman and the people of Sodom back and all their gear. He was like, can you just give me back my nephew and bring back all the gear to Sodom, you know, like these are my people, blah, blah, blah. And the Aryan kings were like, bro, oh, sorry, cuz, okay. And so they did, and they gave it back, right? So Abraham was on his way back with Lot and the woman and the other people that were taken from Sodom, and they were making their way back down, and they had their gear back as well. They got their gear back, and the king of Sodom came to meet him in the Kidron Valley by Jerusalem. So the Kidron Valley is just out from Jerusalem, and I was going to show you, but my camera's flashing as well, but I won't, because I probably get this all mixed up. I'll give it a try. Let's see how I go. Oh, I keep doing that. So we've got the city of Salt, and then we've got Jericho, right? We come straight across. We've got Bethany, we've got Jerusalem, and then right in the green patch around here, we've got the Kidron Valley. So basically, the king of Sodom boots it, and he's going to meet Abraham, and Abraham's coming down from Damascus, and they meet up, and it's basically where they meet up is outside Jerusalem. So what happens next? Okay, well, now what happens next is the king of Sodom came to meet, and Melchizedek brought them bread and wine, and he blessed Abraham by his God El Elon. The king of Sodom said, give me the people and keep all the goods. And Abraham gave 10% to Melchizedek of the goods, right? And he gave the rest of the goods to his own men because he had taken an oath to El Elon. And he accepted nothing for himself, so that the king of Sodom could not at any future time say that it was him who had made Abraham rich. And so began the salt trade to Egypt. Okay, so that's the end of my little history lesson. So as much as everybody's talking, I don't know what the narrative has just gone AWOL. Oh, excuse me. It's just gone AWOL. It's out the gate. You're pulling things out of everywhere. And what we're talking about here is trade. We're talking about trade routes, the Silk Road, the taking over of trade. Why did Genghis Khan start the Great Gold Hoard? He went from the Silk Road in China and won his way all the way across because he was going to be king of the world. And he knew how to do it. You do it by the trade routes. The first one to do it was Seth, and that was a long time ago. And that was at the Gulf of Eden. I don't know if it's on this map. I'll try to show you. And the Gulf of Eden is at the Red Sea. And so I'll give it my best shot. Now, as we can see, what we're looking at here is Yemen. Do you see Yemen? Now that peninsula at the tip of it there is where Eden was, okay? So the war in Yemen is a Red Sea war, and it's something to do with Eden. And that began the trade route. So Seth, he was the son of Adam and Eve as well, and he was the one who murdered Osiris. And Osiris, as you know, lived up here in Egypt. And Osiris was doing good for the people and stuff, and Seth wanted to take over all the trade route and everything. So that's a big story. You have to go way back for that story. But the reason why he killed Osiris was because the people loved Osiris. And Seth was a man of domination. He wanted to rule by trade, and he didn't want everyone to eat freely and eat what they wanted. No free trade. You gotta barter for it. So back in the day, there wasn't money, but you did barter. So if you were able to smelt silver, you traded it for some gear, like maybe some spices and stuff like that from India, which is why the Indus Valley civilization was kind of big. All right. So everything's about trade. What are the Crusaders on about? Well, the Knights Templar and the Crusades and everything like that was about hoarding all the gold and stuff like that, owning it all and being the boss of all the trade. And when they were accused of being this, I wrote about it. It was about Baphomet, being followers of Baphomet, which is Muhammad. So Baphomet was the name that they used for the followers of Muhammad in the first siege, which was in 1098, the siege of Antioch. So the Crusaders back then, all right, the Knights Templar. And it was only in the year 1947 when old Aleister Crowley died, and he was the one who drew a picture of Baphomet being like the goat head and horns with a man's arms, but woman's breasts and goat legs, okay? So they're making stuff up. They're creating a narrative, and his narrative, he made up the religion called Thelema. Thelema, do what you want, okay? So this Satanism that's going on is actually, that people are calling it, with the Baphomet image that Aleister Crowley began, is back to magic and these kind of spells that they're putting on people. It's not true. So don't believe in it. If you want to find out about something, go into history and look it up, and you will find your answer. Look at some maps, look at stuff. Okay, so now that I've cleared the air on the story of Melchizedek, I want everybody to wake up from this narrative that has been really pushed. It's part of the agenda. It's to keep you in fear, to try and make some people feel like they're doing the right thing. You're trying to say that Jesus was a trader, but I don't think Jesus was into trade. So don't forget that I explained to you before, I want to do two things. One, the last revolution, which was when Pluto was in Aquarius, began with the French Revolution. There was the French Revolution, the American Revolution. There was in the American Revolution, they took Texas and they took California off the Mexicans and decided that they were going to have it for themselves. While everyone else thought they were fighting about slaves. That's what was really going on. They stole a big tract of land, and also the Industrial Revolution began. But meanwhile, in France, just starting here, the revolution was in Russia. It was in everywhere. Everyone had one. Okay, now remember, Pluto was in Aquarius for 20 years. So I just want to say one more thing. Now, they began the whole stuff with propaganda. They started the propaganda by lying about the King and Queen of France. And that was King George, and the Queen was Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette. So they said that she was having orgies up there and all this stuff was going on, which none of it's true. But the printing press had just come out and they invented this new thing, the printing press, and they used it for propaganda purposes. What was really happening was the parliamentarians were trying to take over the royalty. They wanted to end the royal rulership and start the parliamentarians being the rulers, right? The governors. And the Illuminati started up then as well, and they had things called agents, and the agents infiltrated all governments around the world so that they could begin their New World agenda, which began with the First Industrial Revolution, also called the First Reich. So they also have these weapons that someone finds out how to use them. I don't know who's got them. There's a part about the weapons that I don't know, but they use the weapons as well, which is the weather weapons, and the crops were failing, especially in France. They got big rains and the crops were failing over and over again, and flooding and blimmin' drought, and the ground looked like ash. That's a burn. And they were starving, and the propaganda, the pamphlet came out saying that Marie Antoinette says, let them eat cake. But in fact, she never, ever said that. She lived a simple life, and she was quite concerned for people, and she didn't like the French ostentatious way of life. She liked things simple. She didn't even live in the palace, okay? She lived in a side house. That's the only house she wanted to be in, with her children and her adopted children. But anyway, she was guillotined, and lots of other people were guillotined too. Many were. Actually, millions were slaughtered in France once the parliamentarians were up and running. And if you look at the catacombs in the bottom in France, still there in Paris and around, it's just absolutely loaded with the skulls and bones of people. Okay, skulls and bones, 322. The Crusaders are the skulls and bones. Now, when the Crusades had to end and the Knights Templar got persecuted for this being the followers of Baphomet, which is Muhammad, they had to get out of there wherever it was they were, which was in the Europe areas and the British Isles, France and things. They only went to Portugal. They didn't go that far. They went to Portugal, okay, and they started up the Skull and Bones, black flag with the skull and the bones, the X bones, and they went to get their stuff back. So now the pirates are raiding the merchants and taking all the stuff and blah blah blah, and they're getting all the stuff back because they're taking over again, because it's all about who has the most stuff wins. Okay, now that's a game that they have played with people's lives for many years, and if you're not in the cult of the Illuminati or the Skull and Bones Society or the Freemasons or the whatever they are, then they don't care about you or me. They don't care. Now, there's a whole bunch of people, part of the CIA, the BBC, the FBI, all the alphabet soups, and that even some of them that are alphabet and that talk against it are still part of it, because you have to be a part of it to know. Otherwise, how do you know the narrative, and how do you know this and that? All right? So we learn from them, but we don't follow them. We get wise from them. This is the year of the dragon. Still hasn't started yet. Coming up. And this is our year. And in this year, it is earth building. So earth building is about... Remember I said that we're going to get to the top of our plateau, and we're going to build our fortress, our fort, our castle. It's about boundaries, but earth building is how you build a dam. You use the natural environment. So earth building can be, let's think of things that are earth building. Could be gardening, could be caring about people, could be caring about everyone. Every work that you do on earth this year is building up your reservoir. The reservoir is going to go forth from the dam and create, recreate, regenerate. It's going to make a change. They're going to make a revolution, and it's not for our benefit. So we have to try and make a revolution too. Now, in Jesus' time, I explained to you before, was the time of the Zealots, the uprising in Galilee, and then they crucified him as an example. They tried to make an example out of him, and they also tried to catch him out and stuff. Oh, it's horrible what they did. I've cried many tears over what they did to that man. And thank God he survived. He made it to Afghanistan area, and as you saw, it was on the map. But then he went down the Persian Sea a little bit, and let's just put it this way, he got to live out the rest of his life, but he was literally scarred. He had a dislocated shoulder, it was ripped, and he never was able to repair that shoulder. So he was lame. They had nailed him through the feet. There's no way he could walk after he came back to life, when he first did that big lightning voltage that he did to kickstart himself again, okay? But he lived a good life. He was well looked after. He had many, many people that cared for him. So we can be thankful for that. Now, the rest I want to say is be careful. Be careful about traders. Be careful about trading. Be careful about religion. So important this year to really tweak your discernment, your psyche, your gut reactions. I love you all. Ka kite.